This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, macroeconomics students, Professor George here. I'm going to do a very quick tutorial on question number 12 on Chapter 6 study guide. I'm just writing the comments for your study guide and I don't think anybody got this answer correct 100%. We will have a test question just like this on the quiz that I'm also posting tonight. So I thought I'd do this quick video to run through it to make sure you understand it. Let me share my screen with you and I'll pull up the problem. Oh, where'd it go? So the first thing you should know is that I don't assign a problem just to do a math problem. This math problem is going to teach you something. And here's what I want it to teach you. I want you to know who is considered in the labor force. A lot of people think everybody over the age of 16 who's able-bodied is in the labor force, and that's not true. So I'm going to teach you who's in the labor force, how you calculate the unemployment rate, who discouraged workers are, and if they were included in the unemployment rate calculation, that number would be a lot higher. So first, let's start with who's in the labor force. The way you want to do this problem, you see here in Urbanville, they've got 6 different groups of folks. And for each group, you have to decide, are they in the labor force? And if they are they employed or are they unemployed? So let's go through one by one. In A, they work full-time for wages and salary. I'm going to call that in the labor force and employed. In 2, they work part-time, but they worked, so they're in the labor force and they're employed. Number 3, they're self-employed, they're working, so they're in the labor force and they're called employed. D, did not work for pay, but looked for work. This second part here, this part I'm highlighting real quick for you, this is the important part in this line. You are only considered unemployed if you do not have a job, but you're actively seeking one. So D, the folks here in D are in the labor force, but they're unemployed. E says they did not work, they did not look for work because she thought jobs were not available. So if you don't have a job and you're not actively looking for a job, you are not in the labor force. These people who meet the requirement of E are called discouraged workers. Discouraged workers are people who lost their job, looked and looked and looked and looked for another job that they thought would suit them, and they were unable to find one. And so they quit looking. Maybe they took out early retirement. Maybe they decided to be a full-time parent at home. Maybe they decided to work under the table in their garage. I don't know. But they are not in the official labor force. They're not employed. They're not unemployed. They are not in the labor force. This last group of people did not work for pay because she did not want to. They are not in the labor force either, and because they don't have a job and they're not looking for a job. I was a stay-home mother for 12 years, never worked so hard in my life, best job I've ever had, but I was not considered in the labor force. I wasn't in an organized workplace. So when you want to calculate your numbers, you're going to go down here. For the labor force, you're going to add together everybody up here that we identified as the labor force. Those are 4 groups, A, B, C, and D. That's your labor force. The number of unemployed people, the only people that are counted as unemployed is D, did not work for pay, but looked for work. This should be D. The unemployment rate is simply the number of people who are unemployed, which is D, divided by the labor force. And we found the labor force right here in I. You're going to do that division, and then you're going to multiply it all times 100. That's how you get the unemployment rate. The next thing I'm going to do is you're going to take the people who were discouraged workers here in E, and you're going to add them to the labor force. So your labor force is now going to be everybody A, B, C, and D plus E, plus the discouraged workers. The labor force will be bigger. The number of unemployed people, you're going to add the people who were unemployed before plus the discouraged workers. So you're going to get a new unemployment rate that will include the discouraged workers, and it will be bigger. So I'm not going to show you my answers because I want you to do the work. I want you to know that you can do the work. You're welcome to send me your answers. You can still post on the discussion board tonight. So if you get answers, you can post it as a comment on your original post if you'd like. I will keep track to go in there and see. When I find somebody who got them all right, I'll identify them for you. So don't let this problem overwhelm you, and try to be very careful in your addition. I'll be on email tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow. I'll be on email on Sunday if you want to email me. Good luck. I hope this little video helped you though.